We're going to be a little, I say I'm going to be organized. Part 3. I wanted to close the loop on our experience with the Swim Lab Aquatic Intensive in Florida. So this company, I felt like popped up. There was a lot of buzz around like the new kid on the block, right? So intensive style therapy, only 1 weekers. So short and sweet. We're used to 3-week intensives. We are, little context to Kaylin, I have a teenager. I have a teenager with cerebral palsy as her primary diagnosis. She has a lot of other things going on. But we have had a lot of growth in these pubescent years and new challenges, revisiting some old challenges, all mixed up into there, and wanted to go over, we did a lot of videos on what we were working on, kind of like the day-to-day stuff while we were in Florida. And just as a reminder that I'm going to share this feedback with the huge caveat is of course, we know a lot of families that are taking up space in the world of disabilities, right? And do I think of our other friends while we're trying something new? Would it work for them? Like, yeah, we've got 16 years and I've got experience with disabilities that are not my daughter's. And so I tried to keep that in mind, especially when I'm sharing feedback, because it might not necessarily present a challenge for my kiddo, but I could see it presenting a challenge for, other kiddos or groups of kiddos, things like that. So I'm going to share predominantly just my 2 cents of what it was like for my family. But I will also throw in some other things that I just thought of because we've been in it. We've been in it for 16 years. So first thing is first. I am usually pretty chatty. Part 1 and part 2 videos are roughly about 15 minutes. So grab a snack if you want the full review. I made some notes this time, so I'll be a bit more organized, but let's start off with my affinity for, technology. I can't even say former, but I do have a tech background. I'm a software engineer as my day job. I'm going to talk about the facility itself. I'm going to talk about the therapist, and then I'm going to barf some of my intensive thoughts. With that being said, context, my kiddo has CP. She's a teenager, and her CP impacts all 4 limbs. Some people like to argue with me on the World Wide Web as to what diagnosis my daughter has and doesn't have. Her CP looks different from day to day. There could be a mix of tone, a mix of spasticity that could present challenges on a Monday that don't exist on a Friday, right? So Kaylin has always been a water baby. Some of my earliest pictures and videos were of her in the pool, and those are some of the harder ones to watch because I see a difference in an infant pre-brain injury. Let's jump into it before I start losing all my marbles. Registration. Here's why technology matters. We're tired. We're tired of filling out forms. We're tired of typing in the same information. We're tired. So make every interaction just easy. All of the companies out there. And so that's the first star that Swim Lab gets, is their online forms were easy. I don't feel like I had to duplicate a ton of information. Where I ding them a little bit, and this could have already changed because the important thing to note is we gave them this feedback back at the end of January. And I get to praise them for listening to some of it already. So making making some changes, and I've got to commend that because I like it when technology can make anything easier, especially if I'm on the receiving end of the ease. The only thing I will ding on the registration is the support, the communication, like back and forth. Their customer service or their support people, folks that were responding to the email, are in Spain. So, different time zone. But that's their flagship location. And I understand that. I work in a field where I work with people all over the world. So I'm used to, sending and receiving emails at weird hours. And I think my response window for just business etiquette is, I feel like we all lowered our expectations, right? Especially when dealing with the hospitals and records. But that's the only thing that I dinged him on is like, okay, well, it would be nicer if the communication was faster, I guess. I didn't have a ton of questions. The questions that I did ask leading up to our intensive did get answered, and they were answered good enough for us. The caveat that I'm going to add there is we chose Florida as our destination for an intensive. And then I found the provider. We wanted a break from the snow. So we had our hearts set on California or Florida. Wherever was going to present us an opportunity to get a little vitamin C, if you will. So moving on, facility. I feel like I can be a little bit more critical in this world because I am a business owner and I service the disabled population. Well, not me specifically. I'm more like behind the scenes kind of gal. I am not the talent, is what I say, but the facility does not have automatic door openers, right? I'm getting sick of it. I am getting sick of businesses that service any medical population that does not have automatic doors. Sick of it. Get automatic doors. You're charging families thousands of dollars. So that, honestly, that like little things like that, they irk me more than maybe someone else. But there's a reason. You're serving you're serving a disabled population. Make it easy for them to get inside your building. I didn't have any issues with the parking lot. There were plenty of accessible parking spots, so that didn't have any issues there. Everyone seemed to be very, very respectful of the parking situation for at least a week. I don't know if it's a big issue in Florida. I feel like, man, oh man, California and Texas, when I've traveled there, it seems to be a bigger issue, but we run into it here in Colorado, right, where people are parking in the lines, making Angela mad. I'm going around, I'm not giving people flat tires, but I want to because it makes me angry. So those are the big things on the facility, but the other thing, the concept of this place is aquatic and land. So you get 2 sessions of aquatic and then a session on land. So they usually split them up, right? The gym facility. Now we are a veteran family. We have been to multiple Napa locations. I feel like that's like a flex in the therapy world. Be like, I've been to Napa so many times. I feel like we were kind of late to the Napa game, but either way, we are Napa veterans. Napa is the gold star for intensives. I don't think anyone is ever going to be as big as they are in the U.S. Because they've been doing it for over a decade. Like, they've been doing it for so long, and yeah, they've got a secret sauce, man. They find really, really great therapists, and most locations do a really, really good job of keeping them. And I think that's just a testament to their business culture and like all the things, right? Because it's very, very easy to move and change jobs and work for other companies. So they there's something in the sauce, right? Is Napa is really, really great. I want these other intensive companies to gain momentum as well, because I wasn't waitlisted for Swim Lab. Whoop, 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 whoop. So that is very attractive to me. I signed up, I picked my dates, and I got a confirmation. I mean, no stress. I'm a little anxious about, trying somewhere new and a new team and all that, but that's why I'm sharing the feedback. So their facility, don't compare it to Napa. It is not the same type of intensive. They are using the pool instead of, I don't know, a spider cage, right? Is their tools or their approach is aquatic and then some land therapy. And I think that is where the facility gets dinged, is I didn't go in with Napa like expectations. And I don't want that to sound like a knock on the clinic, but I wasn't comparing this program to Napa. They don't do the same things. So the other piece of that facility is like, it's comparable. It's like a hotel gym, right? It's really, really open, which I love. Loved that there was a lot of natural lighting. We're in Florida. Of course I want to let the light in. But they don't have like fancy equipment. I wasn't expecting fancy equipment. So that's the thing is, I also can appreciate keeping the exercises simple so that I can do them at home. We also have robotic legs at home. So I'm like, I don't expect a clinic. At this point, we're 16 years in. I've got a very handy husband. We have DIY'd a lot of stuff. So their facility I was not wowed by it. I don't need a bunch. I need robotic legs. But as far as the other equipment, we had more than enough to support what we were working on in the water. And the pools were really nice. It was nice to have the large outdoor pool. I imagine in the summer that would be, glorious to be soaking in that much more sunshine. The indoor pool was more shallow. So really, really great to work on stuff where if you need to walk on the bottom of the pool, you have that. So the only thing that would have been nice, chlorine. Kaylin's kind of sensitive, like her skin is. So we brought all the creams and all the lotions, but it is not salt water. So that's it. That's my 2 cents on the facility. Would have been nice to have a saltwater pool, but we were in it for the sunshine from the get-go. And I will say no one from Planet Swim opened the door for me. Again, I am capable. I have been opening doors one-handed for 16 years. But that could be challenging for other families where, their arms are full, or maybe they're carrying one, or you know what I mean? I don't know, depending on the weather, if they ever prop those doors open. I doubt it, because like Florida gets pretty hot, like Arizona. Like people aren't really propping doors in Arizona. So that's my 2 cents on the facility. Therapist feedback. This is one where I probably want to give the largest caveat because it's personal. I have a very social child. I have a child that 99% of the time does well with any transitions that you throw at her. We don't have to take the same route, do the same things, worry about the same people coming and going in her life. So trying a new therapist in a new city, different weather, that stuff doesn't usually faze Kaylin. Like she is ready to party, but I do know that that is not always the case with every kiddo. With that in mind, the therapist is more of a connection in my world. Do I look at their experience? Of course I do. Do I do a little bit of sleuthing? Of course I do. Do I love when parents share feedback? Of course. Love the feedback. Did I hear some feedback that wasn't entirely positive about Swim Lab? Yeah. Again, we made our decision based on us wanting to be in Florida. And I also wanted to see, what does this concept look like with water and land? You know, we got an Arizona company. Like, we want to add aquatic. Of course we do. And everything is better when you do it over and over and over. So intensive. I also, not necessarily like a research trip, but every time I go to an intensive, I plan on bringing something home. Of course. And if it'll help or work for other families, yeah, then I'm going to do that too. So, when it comes to the therapist, that's what I'll lead with, is our connection with Crystal was fantastic. She made things really fun for Kaylin. She's young. She's got just, I think even the inflection in her voice, like her and Kaylin just hit it off. They were just having a hoot. Crystal gave us all the food recommendations. Kaylin ate all the sticky buns. We all had a really, really good time together. And I thought Crystal did a really, really good job of the knowledge share of just her past experience. And I mean, we kind of lucked out. Again, I would not have been able to research this, but Crystal happened to be like a little expert on spines. Like, she just spent a lot of time researching scoliosis. She's got just a lot of knowledge on that, and we lucked out because that is one of the things that we are really struggling with at the same time of trying to address in different, I guess, therapeutic environments. And we're just like, well, yeah, let's just take it to the water, man. We can't seem to find something that is making a big enough difference where I can say we're trying enough. And Kaylin has a pretty new scoliosis brace, and we're not near surgery yet, but I hate feeling like my hands are tied. Like, okay, so what can we do? Like, I don't want to just wait until she needs surgery. And that might always be in the cards for us. But this is the type of thing that makes me feel a little bit better, is when we can exhaust some efforts on the therapy, or, you know, take a different approach with our body. If something's not working, let's try something new and just see if there's a different way that we can target those muscle groups to kind of strengthen that. And if it's getting ready for therapy, then it doesn't hurt to be stronger, and it doesn't hurt to have more muscle mass, and all the things. So all of that is kind of wrapped up into what we take away as the interaction with our therapist and that knowledge share and things like that. And she worked great with us. And Kaylin had a lot of fun. And we met some friends and all the things. So I think part of that therapist is hugely reliant on connection, and the experience of a therapist can certainly lend itself to being able to adapt to a lot of different types of kiddos. So she worked really, really well with a very social teenager. And Kaylin's got a little spicy side too, and she kept it playful, and she kind of figured Kaylin out pretty quickly of like, okay, well, if we get stuck here, then I'll give you a little bit of a splash break. You can go crazy, and then we're going to get back to it. So I think she did really, really good on that side to just kind of keep her engaged. Kaylin likes to blow bubbles. So it can be distracting because she just wants to blow bubbles and not do the other stuff, right? So that's kind of the what I'm talking about is she did a really great job handling my kid, managing my kid, working through not too many teenage feelings, to be honest. Like, we had a really solid week, and Kaylin also knew it was a week. Like, this is easy, right? 1 week. She slept really good every night. She ate a lot. And overall intensive thoughts, we chose based on location. So our mind was made up that this year we are going to go to Florida in the middle of our winter. So, well, it was going to be Florida or California. So we got into swim lab and had a great week. And I guess I'm rarely blown away by progress. And not to say that Kaylin doesn't make it. She had a great week, and Righty came out to play, like her arms and all the extension, all the things. It just wasn't shocking because I know how her body responds to water, and I knew that it would be super effective having her work in water multiple hours a day. So, with that being said, I'm really, really proud. I'm really proud of how hard she worked, of course, and will return to Florida. On the topic of, private pay, right? The cost of the intensive, it's expensive, and it's worth it. I can't turn off how I still struggle when Kaylin's body still struggles. And that's the part. Is my body aches because her body aches. So when we have an opportunity and can make the financial sacrifices, budgeting, all the things, to be able to go to a place that's offering an aquatic intensive, I think Kaylin appreciated how easy I made it, I guess, for her body to feel the different movement, right? Is if you go to the gym and, if you do back-to-back leg days, right, is man, oh man, your legs are sore, right? And it's like you almost like the pain because you feel like, oh, I accomplished so much because my body is so exhausted. That's the part that's hard. Really hard for me and my child. And not just because she's got this tiny little body where I don't want to, break it or put it to its max. Is like intensive therapy is a lot. It's a lot. And we've been doing it for so long. Kaylin definitely has the words. If she doesn't want to do it, she's not going to do it. So that's the last thing that I'll say is that I needed to see the movement be a little bit easier for Kaylin. And not to say that this week was easy, but the movement in the water was easier. And so when you take away the pain and the challenge and you can just focus on, the skill or the movement or something specific. That's what made it really, really valuable to us, is Kaylin's body it has been fighting us for a couple of years now. Those growth spurts have been really, really hard to manage, navigate, all the things. So I love the concept. I love that they have it at a shared space. And that might not work for every family. But I want people to see my child. I want her to be seen. And that's why we go. That's why we do the things. Even when we know that we're going to be carrying a wheelchair up and down stairs if there's no access, is we do the things. Because I can't just sit at home and cry every week about my child not being seen if we're not out. And that's why I love the concept, like even more than what I learned online, even more than just choosing a sunny location, is my child had opportunities every day to interact with typical peers. Also, we had a little girl gang in our intensive, which is always really, really fun. And it is fascinating. And that's the part that'll never get old, is how Kaylin figures that out for herself. So, lots of little bonuses in the week. But I tend to learn the most when I make decisions, honestly, where I do have to lower my expectations because I didn't know what to expect. It could have been a bust. It could have been not as good as our home team. And I mean, it just doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt when you go swimming for a week. So that's kind of how we justified it, right? Is we're just like, okay, well, even if this turns out to not check any of the boxes, or maybe the therapist will be terrible, like we just didn't know. We didn't know if the therapist would be, I'm honestly, strong enough to work with Kaylin. She's not very heavy, but like she's got the limbs, and they checked our boxes. And we met a really incredible family that's practically already planned our trip to Spain, so it was just really nice. Met a gentleman that fell in love with the concept of Spain, and I feel like he's the one that brought it over to the US, or at least convinced the owner to. And I love that as well, because it just speaks to my mama's heart. It's what I've done over the years to make intensive therapy more accessible to us. And then I was finally in a position to make intensive therapy more accessible to families in Arizona. And this is a pool. So I'm hoping that another family goes and they bring this back to their community. And, Kaylin already gets to swim in Colorado, so we didn't necessarily have to go to Florida. We could have, just signed up for every late cancellation possible and probably have gotten 4 swim lessons in a week out of it. But that's it. I mean, it filled in some gaps as to what we could share with our team at home. And they are very, very open to the idea of, we'll say dabbling in the world of intensive. So we're going to start with some summer camp themed stuff. And I mean, the ripple effect, right, is there is going to be a family that goes. and they are going to have the means, the motivation, all of the things to be able to take parts of this program back to their own community, not only for their own child, but a lot of other families. And I think that that's not praised enough. Like, yeah, let's do that. I wish there wasn't a need. I wish there wasn't a need for more programs. But there is. And I hope that helps with, expectations. Maybe you're on the fence. Maybe you just don't know. I'll double check cost wise, but I think it was maybe $1,500 for the week. So anyways, they did update for families that are local to Florida, and we have a similar program in Arizona. It's called an ESA funds. So they are set up to accept those, and I highly recommend, if you're in a state that has that, homeschool families use these funds, families that just need to cover equipment, things like that, have these funds. Message me if you need help. It's paperwork. If you give me something, I'll do it for free, or let's barter. But I'm happy to help. If you are a small practice and you're just struggling with some of the administrative tasks, ask some of the moms. Ask some of the families that you're servicing and be like, hey, I'll give you 3 sessions. If you're interested in taking on, social media or paperwork or things like that. But again, these are simple forms that help out a lot. They help out a lot of families, but also, in Arizona, our first year of business, it was 40%. 40% of our clients were using these types of funds. So, reach out. Reach out if you need help with, very specifically, I'm familiar with a few government programs. Florida has a similar one to Arizona, so I knew what they were talking about. And, Crystal was very, very transparent with where they were at and kind of the growth of the business and some of their plans. And I was very, very just thankful that she shared with me. Like, she didn't have to. And I'm excited. I'm excited for their growth. I'm excited to go to Spain. Anyone want to fundraise for that? That'd be great. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. Swim Lab, 3 altogether. This one was the longest. Even with my outline list, I tend to get really, really chatty, but this is the big one. I have done interviews. I've just got to stitch them together, kind of like week 1, and, let's look at, 2 months down the road. But what I can tell you is we've had fewer days where especially Righty has just been like, nah. We've had some days where it's just like, oh my God, that's remarkable. But she is doing really, really well. And I think all of the things that we worked on, it kind of got us over that hump, right? Of like, we're kind of stuck in a slump. I don't feel like we're seeing any progress. We need to work on something different. And, sometimes mama just has to, kind of reprioritize the goals that we're working on. But Kaylin's back is looking so much better. And we have days where it's just like, oh my God, I can see your scapula. What? And again, if you know, she sitting at school is not doing her, she just loves school, but we're battling. We're battling the time that she's sitting at school. And this was perfectly timed for us. And I'll take sunshine any day of the week. So Swim Lab, part 3, done with my notes.